Royal Oak to order. Let's introduce ourselves, starting to my left.
Gary Casada.
Ann Varl,
Tim Twing.
Ann Beakey.
Eric Klooster.
and we do have a quorum. Item B is the approval of minutes for February 12th, 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Casada. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Klooster. Is there any discussion on these? Not seeing all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We're going to go on to public comment for non-agenda items. Is there someone here that would like to comment on an item that is not on our agenda? Okay, not seeing. We'll close that public comment, and we're going to go to new business. This is a public hearing for capital improvement program for 2019 and 20, for fiscal year 2019 and 20. Mr. Twing.
You do have a copy of the capital improvement program for the next fiscal year, as well as it includes projects for future years. The finance department is the primary department that puts this together. It's in front of you as part of the planning activity and act for you to hold a public hearing this evening on the presented and proposed capital improvement program. Julie Rudd is here from the finance department if you have any questions from her. I don't believe she's planning on any presentation, but
Okay.
as far as what it contains or doesn't, if you have questions, I'm sure she can help with answers. There is a suggested resolution for your consideration in the cover memo, should you consider approval after the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Twing. Is there any questions about this capital improvement program for Mr. Twing or Ms. Rudd? Okay, so this is a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to comment on this capital improvement program? Not seeing. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for any further discussion, questions, or the resolution. It has to be in form of a motion, correct? Okay.
Yep.
Is there a motion?
Move to accept the planning commission's resolution, or the planning division's resolution.
Is there support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Casada, moved by Mr. Klooster. Any discussion on this motion? Not seeing. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the capital improvement program has been passed through the commission. Moving on to other business. This is the last item on our agenda, and this is a sign variance request for restaurant Pinky's at 100 South Main Street. And it's an ask for a variance to allow 3 prohibited signs, roof signs for upper level outdoor dining area. Mr. Twing.
You do have the staff report as well as the letter from the building department denying the petitioner's permit request. As you indicated, the building department denied what are basically 3 signs that they've determined to be on the roof of the building above Diamond Steakhouse for Pinky's, which would be the new restaurant that would occupy that second floor. Basically what you have, if you look at the drawings, are 2 canopy signs that, or freestanding signs that are on canopies that are on the second floor, as well as a sign that's on a pole at the corner. One thing I would point out in the report, it makes it sound like it's a V-shaped sign, when in reality it's a standard pole sign that is at a 45-degree angle from the northeast corner of the building. The report gives you the basic sizes of the signs and their placement. I don't know if you have any questions from me about those 3 signs, but I'll be happy to address them.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Twing?
So the main, if I can ask, so the main problem the building department had with it is that their roof instead of wall, just because of the angle of the where they're attached, just to understand a little bit better?
Well, they're not attached to a wall, so they're not wall signs.
Okay.
They're all attached to freestanding structures that are on the roof of the building.
Also, they're above
The
the roof.
sign
Okay.
ordinance does not allow roof signs. I believe it doesn't even allow freestanding signs in sign area 3, but their denial was based on it being roof signs, so.
Mr. Twing, the pole sign is not allowed and the roof sign is not allowed if they were to put a sign on the side of the building. Could you see, or I'm kind of showing right there, is that allowed? Because it's actually on their building?
Well, you can have roofs, or you can have wall-mounted signs.
Okay, so this would be okay on the area
I
there?
believe there was a contingency on the approval of the Diamond Steakhouse sign about no more wall signs, but I would believe that would just relate to the Diamond Steakhouse, but I don't want to speak for the building office on how they would interpret that, so I'd rather not get into speculations of what they do or don't do.
Okay,
You've got a request for what have been determined to be 3 roof signs that are not allowed in this sign area.
okay. Any other questions for Mr. Twing? Mr. Petitioner, would you like to come up and talk about your request?
Good evening, Roman Bonaslawski from Ron and Roman. We're challenged because this is an independent business on the second level of a building that originally the building was not designed with any provision to provide a sign that associates it with the actual activity center that's occurring on that second floor. It is a roof sign from the standpoint that it was our belief, in order to provide the visibility for that business up there, that we should put it at the intersection, and we've got it oriented so it's facing and oriented towards the main intersection at 11 and Main. The 2 secondary signs are really adornment, which are about a square foot each, just over a square foot each, on the valence of 2 freestanding awning structures up there. This was, again, a decision to try to provide that business some opportunity to have a signage that'll have it associated with its actual business. When we started by doing the diamonds, and again, the variance that we sought on the diamonds sign was, in fact, that corner fabric assembly isn't officially an awning or a canopy because it doesn't have a top on it, although it reads as if it does have a top on it. Upstairs, again, with the main identifier down below, we felt it was best to provide that signage at that primary intersection. So truly an aesthetic call to try to provide the appropriate type of imaging for what's going to be a very, very unique, feminine-oriented pink lounge with small plates as a complete counterpoint to the more masculine Diamond Steakhouse that we did for the proprietor down below. And I'm happy again to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yeah, Mr. Casada.
Last time, there was a color sign that was pink before, so that was gonna be pink and it wasn't. Is this one what color is this one gonna be? 'Cause this is black and white.
This is pink.
This is gonna be a pink sign.
Everything, you've seen the building is being painted. They lost weather on that last blue wall up there, so they're waiting for weather again to complete the painting of it. And the interior is a pink extravaganza,
Okay, so the sign is also pink, that was the question.
also pink, with pink neon on it. The word pinkies is actually defined by neon with painted background behind it on the metal face.
So it is neon that is gonna be illuminated?
There is, along the center of the word pinkies, if you look, you can see the stroke on there and the identifier. The word pinkies is painted on a metal sign, and then there is a standoff of pink neon that's in front of it.
It's 6 by 6. And so the intention of the sign is for people to see it from cars or from walking, or what's the?
In the city, period, because where else can you put a sign? You could put it on the north facade somewhere on that stair tower that's up there. Totally disassociates it from truly identifying what or where that business is. And there truly isn't any other opportunity along that back at the pushed back wall of the actual second story of building. So again, we are on a patio level there. The city's defined that as the roof, and it is the roof for the portion of enclosed building down below. The actual enterprise occurs within the building, which has its own roof and second story beyond, but no opportunity to put signage on it.
How big is the pole sign? The, not the height, but the sign itself, how big is that? What's the dimension on that?
I think it's a 6 by 6, 6, oh,
It fits within a 6 by 6 foot square, but it's a trapezoidal shape. That actually diminishes that.
It says 43 square feet. on the
43?
plans. It's
So it's
6,
big.
6 feet
Big.
and 4.5 inches by 6'8" roughly.
And the actual verbiage on it is, again, that dimension that's shown on there shows it to be 2.5 feet from the top of the P to the bottom of the lower stroke. So the stroke of neon on it is, the tall letters are that big.
How would you illuminate the canopy or the valance sign?
We're not illuminating it at all.
Oh, so at night you can't see it?
It's not even intended as a sign. It's truly, it's this big on the valence of the
Okay.
awning. It's accoutrement. It's an embellishment of the canopy design. And
Would your pinky sign be illuminated 24/7?
my gut would be, I was assuming the owner was going to join me here tonight. I would assume that it's only going to be illuminated when the place is in business, because that's part of our identifier to show that there's activity up there, and it's
So when you close at whatever time the sign goes off?
correct. And even now, he keeps his lighting on the building down below up till past 12 or 1 o'clock, I think, and then he shuts everything down.
Mr. Twing, when, what was there, Red Fox or?
Red Fox was.
Red Fox was upstairs.
Did they have a pole sign, or did they have a sign that was extended out for people to see?
No, I believe they had wall-mounted signs, but I don't recall
Yeah,
totally.
I don't remember seeing
I
one
believe they
there.
were on the walls,
I think it was painted.
but I can't
somewhere.
remember exactly where.
Okay.
what signage would be allowed on this? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
If these are not allowed as roof sign, what other signage is allowed? What would be your alternative that would be within the ordinance? 'Cause-
Well, as Mr. Thring said, a wall sign would be permitted, although I think even from a count standpoint,
Yes,
you'll
sign
correct
area
me.
3 allows you to have wall signs, window signs. You can have signs on a canopy. There's actually in the Central Business District the ability to have a little pedestrian sign at the entrance. So there are a variety of signs that are allowed in sign area 3. Now, which would fit on the second floor, I really can't, but get into the, and there are some that are specifically prohibited in the Central Business District. Roof signs are prohibited everywhere.
Could I show this to the board, because, just for the sake
Please,
of
come on
show
up.
and tell?
Yeah.
Just pass it around and take a peek, because this might tell you a little bit more of some of the questions.
And Mr. Casada, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a couple questions that I'd like to say. Well, let me ask the question of Mr. Twing first. So the comment was that the previous variance, there was a condition that you couldn't have any more wall signs, but that didn't look like it was provided. I went to the link, maybe I missed it. Is that language in there?
But what I couldn't tell you is whether that's simply related to the Diamond Steakhouse.
This is a.
Again,
This
we
is-
don't have wall signs in front of us.
I understand. But, okay, so this is a little unusual configuration because it is set back. There's a deck up there. I don't think there's too many of these in town. If there wasn't a deck, I know it's totally hypothetical, but if there's a second-story restaurant, different building, and it wasn't a deck, would they be allowed to have wall signs on the two
But we have
sides?
many multi-tenant, two-story buildings, and that's how I would treat this, is you got a single owner with two businesses in it. You have lots of those throughout town, and so the signs get dealt with based on the ability for those as well. So it's not unique in the sense of having two different operations on one building.
How tall
me of
is
Miami
that
Beach.
pole? You've got 9.7 to, it doesn't look like to the top of the sign, though. I'm trying to figure out how, from the pole to the top of the sign, how tall is that? Because it looks big in that sketch there.
That's drawn to scale.
This is drawn to scale here.
Yes, that's.
Okay, so how tall is that?
So that,
7 to the midpoint.
we're at about
Those are like
10 and a
12
half, 10 and a half to 11 feet, to the
11
very
feet?
topmost
Okay.
curve of that convex shape.
This doesn't hang out over the
No.
building facade, does it?
No, it's back,
This drawing would, sorry, but this drawing appears that it does hang over the building facade, but this one doesn't seem to say it.
I think it looks like it's hanging over, too.
Like it's over the building
Maybe a
little
foot,
bit.
foot and a half or so.
it's at a 45-degree angle, as was mentioned before. And so the two tips of it may in fact just skirt, although I will point out that there's a rather large, we've illustrated that in order for you to see the verbiage on it. But at the 45-degree slant, you're probably going to get a few inches of overage right at the guardrail that's up there. There's a 4.5-foot guardrail on one side and a 3.5-foot guardrail on the Main Street side, so it'll hang over that guardrail component right there. But it's not projecting out over the building face.
Okay.
So it is in front of the building facade?
No, it's back at the guardrail positioning, which is back a foot or so from the aluminum coping that's around the top of that building. all
The,
way
the
around.
pole, right, not the
The
sign,
pole, that's
not the,
correct.
not the sign.
Not the sign, the
Mhm,
pole.
The pole, yeah.
So you're saying, so,
How far does the pole, or the sign hang out?
Well, it's approximately 6 feet long.
Pardon me?
It's approximately 6 feet long. There's at least a foot and a half of construction on each side. You might have between 6 to 12 inches at the one end and at the other end that project out beyond the very edge of the aluminum coping of the building. I could do that. I could do a more intense study on that. Give me 1 second.
so are you saying that the sign is actually oriented towards
The center of the intersection.
the center of the intersection? Okay, so it's rotated on a 45-degree to the building facade, so it's tilted back and it looks like it's overhanging just for illustration purposes, but in actuality, the edges are aligned with the
Yeah, it's kind of
face.
facing northeast.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Why wouldn't you face the sign explicitly north and south? Like, why do you have it tilted? Because I'm thinking of traffic, north and south traffic, that's the busiest.
It's as an iconic piece up there. It's again an artistic decision that was
Okay.
made.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Mr. Casada?
Your rendering has all sorts of foliage up there. Is that the intention?
We'll see the foliage up there in the spring and through the summer.
it
Live
live?
plants?
Live plants, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
One of them's a palm tree. That's not going to be live, is it?
Yeah, it is. We put one up in front of Beverly Hills Grill and then replaced it every year when we did that restaurant, so true palm tree.
We're taking
Again,
that
it's
out.
an artistic expression at the cost of replacing it yearly, which we work with Planterra. We did Planterra Greenhouse. We get good pricing on our stock that we get from Planterra Greenhouse, and we utilize it. and it's part of the gas of the space. It's meant to be an over-the-top experience up there, both in terms of the coloration, the furnishings on the interior, the planting, the lushness of planting on the rooftop.
Is it a living wall, or are those just?
No,
like
individual
planter-
potted plants,
Okay, potted
royal
plant.
palms, palm trees, numerous other greenery going up there.
Okay.
Lush. The intention is to make it lush.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Ms. Beaky?
I don't know if this is an appropriate question, because I realize we have to pass or, this particular thing, but would you consider making it a little smaller? It seems kind of.
Well, we consider anything. I mean, again, by being in front of this board right now, we're coming to you with what we believe is the best solution for it. And I have the authority to discuss, I'm the owner of the company, so I could pretty much decide what the architectural treatment will be on it. But I'm happy to entertain whatever dialogue this board wants to present to me. Happy to discuss it. We like this.
Can I see the rendering with the plants on it again, please? It's hard to, it's hard to ascertain how it looks when you just see it like this.
There's a little license in there because it is just Photoshop and not generated from an architectural program. But the planning will be there.
So the plants back here are just a mock-up, that's not a living wall.
No, but we have planters going along the wall, and we're growing
Oh.
Boston ivy up the side of that wall.
It's gonna be green.
Yeah, for Griffin Claw in Birmingham, we did that 4 years ago now. It's covered in ivy. It's beautifully covered in ivy. So it takes 3 to 4 years to get it going, but I believe he's got like a 10 or 12-year lease, so it's only a part of the time he's going to be there, waiting for it.
Anybody else want to see this again?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Casada.
So I just wanted a clarification. I mean, the pinkies is cursive, and in order for this to be articulated, this neon will have to be delicately done, I assume. I'm making an assumption here. Can you tell us about that a little bit? I mean,
Love to. We have the best neon guy in the world, El Boco. He produces all of our neon. He's capable of doing scripted letters that are 2 inches high. So from that standpoint, it's all about the tubing you use and everything else. We just finished Nino Salvaggio's at Maple and Telegraph, and he's done an assortment of neon through that space with very tight curves. This is no big deal.
one of the things that I'd be concerned about, it can't be too bright or you won't be able to read it. It's got to be very thoughtfully.
Yeah, and also that's part of the reason for doing the shadow painting behind it, which then gives a contrasting color off the pink sign as a dark swatch behind it.
So would I be correct? This isn't going to be blaring. This is going to be.
No, listen, what we're doing is just trying to put a name to what already will be a visible and noticeable occurrence happening on that second floor. So, I mean, you could look at what we did with diamonds. It's not a garish approach to signage. Our firm often, sign is important in certain instances. It's not about how big a sign we make, so I'm happy to discuss the final size of the sign. But it's always dependent exactly on the sign conveying whatever the impression is of the business that it's. I mean, we did Market Restaurant in Birmingham. The sign honestly is this big and punched copper above the door, and that's it. Has a different type of following. It's a destination that you look for. In this case, there's only a couple of rooftop occurrences within the city itself. We want to distinguish ourselves from being, well, hell, we did the original Monterey, Memphis Smoke, and, you know, what was on that building for many, many years up till that time. So we're just matching the impression and the art of what the space is on the interior with what we're trying to convey in the message of the word pinkies. That's all that it is. It's completely artistic.
Ms. Beaky?
I guess the point I'm struggling with, I guess, is the idea in point C in the report that the sign requested by the variance would not alter the essential character of the area. And I guess when I look at the overall decor, I get the pink, now I see the pink is staying, I'm understanding better, because I thought it was gonna be more, a little bit more synergistic with the lower floor. And I understand the over top thing, I'm a little bit struggling with that sign being so predominant in its location. Like, I could see it as a person who might come there, if I want an over-the-top experience, lower, so I could take a selfie with it. People find things when they Google things, they don't necessarily look at the sign.
Yep.
I think we're trying in the business district and in Royal Oak in general, trying to reduce that kind of, the driver-oriented sign and get into something that's more about the experience on the ground, right on the feet. So I kind of get where you're going with trying to make it over the top. I'm just feeling like it's a little bit too driver-oriented in my mind. And then, you know, not having something on the side of the building where you could have a mural or something, I feel like with the plants and all, it might just, personally, I think it might aesthetically look better. So I guess my struggle with this particular sign in that particular position is that it might be too much in terms of not altering that, the character of that zone. And again, as a person who walks back and forth all the time, I'm very conscious of the fact that some businesses are hard to locate when you're walking, like, because we don't have like sidewalk level signs very often like this. Anyway, so I see where you're trying to go with the recognition. I'm just not sure it needs to be so up there. Rather something, again, that you, if you're on the patio, take a selfie with something and then maybe use the mural space, it would be just something that I would reflect. So that's what I'm struggling with personally. I don't know if that.
Mr. Casada?
Just to follow up on that, I 100% get philosophically what you're saying, and I support it. I'm more concerned about the precedent setting. I think that we want creative-looking spaces, we want excitement, we want destination places, and indeed, the branding is part of it, and that's what you guys do, and you do it well. I like the diamonds, what you did there. So I support that approach. I don't have any problem with the names on the awnings there, but you've literally got a pole sign on a roof here, and I'm more concerned if we let you do it, no matter how fetching it is, and how effective it is with this particular design. That's more of my concern, to tell you the truth. You guys do a great job, by the way.
I think back to, the Woolies, was it Woolies, where Hopcat is now? I think that's what it was. I forget what the name was, but that was particularly garish in bright greens and reds and yellow. This is at least tasteful as compared to just blatant signism, which is, try to throw it out there and make it as noticeable as possible. This, in fact, on a pink background, you got to think about it, on a pink background, the only noticeable component on it's really going to be the neon. And again, we could discuss size. We're challenged because right now, if you were to drive by, you could see that the awnings are in place on the second floor, and there is no wall. There is no wall on that second floor area.
No wall on the east side, no.
To put the sign. There just isn't. So where do I put a sign? I don't put it on the neighboring building. I don't disassociate it completely from the business for the sake of throwing a name up on the north side of the building, which is just that stair tower that takes you up to that second floor. It's a big opaque brick wall. Disassociated from everything going on. So, and you don't put it on the lower level because it's not a lower level enterprise. For sure this isn't of my own making, and for sure it's not pleasurable for me to stand in front of this board trying to get a variance for something because I'm left with a condition that I can't work around, and that's my problem with this. If it's really about the size, then we can make it smaller, because we do want, I think the business is deserving of an identifier there. It's very interesting. Eater just came out just today, they came out, or yesterday, someone sent it to me. There's a big article on pink restaurants, like out of the blue, and someone obviously has been working on this article for weeks and saying how there's a trend, a fashion trend that's occurring right now, and pink is super hot, and that wasn't our intention of doing it. We were really trying to make this kind of softer, friendlier, fuzzier, female-focused space, and here we find that this is a trend going on across the country. All we're doing is trying to match what's happening out to the trend that we're developing on the interior. And if it's a matter of size, that would be a simple giveaway. I think from a perspective of precedent, setting precedent, how many other similarly constructed, hi Adam.
Sorry I'm late.
How many other similar pieces of architecture that pose a similar set of circumstances, which in every case of hardship, you have to show the uniqueness of your situation. How many other conditions are there like that? And I don't know of any that are being built. I'm working on numerous other projects in the city right now, and we're not doing anything like that. So I'm trying to figure out where the problem with precedent setting is when, in fact, there are no similar pieces of architecture that could call onto the same set of hardships.
Any other questions for the petitioner?
You came dressed in lavender, not pink.
So I'm going to agree with Ms. Beakey. I think this is, I totally get that something has to happen, but I don't, this is too big. It's too much, it's too tall, it's too big for me anyway, and I couldn't support it. I guess I would hope that petitioner could come back with something a little bit more palatable
Happy to do
for
that.
the commission, but that's my opinion, and if there's no other questions, is there, Mr. Klooster and then Ms. Beakey?
Yeah, I'll kind of echo similar sentiments. I think it's hard to argue that it's not a pole sign, and I think it's hard to argue that it's not a roof sign. And we've been pretty consistent in our treatment of those as they've come before this board, so it's kind of hard to change tune. And I have a hard time supporting this as it's done currently.
Ms. Beakey?
The question I wanted to ask is when you look at, when the pole sets in this rendering, that's a railing, or what is the structure?
Glass railing around
It's
it
glass?
currently, yes.
Again,
It's staying as glass railing.
again, to me, as a person who walks back and forth, again, even, this is just my opinion, something that would be, painted on there, or the neon on, something that would be a little bit less, again, on a
I'm
pole.
hearing it.
Yeah,
I'm hearing it from the entire board.
yeah, anyway, so, I think there's room for it to be there and be very
Can I
predominant.
withdraw this application from you now and reapply with a change of, or it doesn't matter, you could, it
Mr.
doesn't
Twing,
matter what. how you
what's,
proceed with
what
it.
are
Doesn't
the
matter, you
options?
can vote it
Yeah,
down, or you
vote
can
it down,
withdraw it.
or-
You can, don't matter to me, but.
What about postponing, or?
No, because we
postpone
gotta
for revision?
renotice, we've gotta, if you
You would?
submit something
Okay.
different, we're gonna have to redo it.
Okay.
Put notice out again and.
Okay.
so-
What's-
I guess you can separate it though too,
The awnings are
if
open.
you don't have a problem with the two awning signs, you can bless those and deny the third one.
Gets us moving on it at least, so that'll.
Mr. Casada?
Move to grant the variance on the two awning signs.
Okay, there's been a motion by Mr. Casada to grant a variance for two awning signs. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Ms. Beakey. Is there discussion on this? Not seeing all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you all. and
Okay.
I'll see you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Okay, that's it for us. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
By Ms. Beakey, supported by
Support.
Mr. Klooster. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at